Good morning and happy Monday to the Ungovernables, the Captain's Crew, the LFA family, McGroy Nation, coming to you live from the deep red state of Tennessee, embroiled in a battle with fire ants in the backyard. A lot of people like these little updates we got. Welcome to Ungoverned. We're winning. We're winning our battle. Welcome to Ungoverned as we get ready to go here on this first show day of June 2025, Veterans Month, first day of hurricane season. We're not even going to refer to the cult celebrations that are going on, if any are actually going on. I heard a few of them, especially one in Boise, Idaho, got canceled because nobody showed up. Interesting. Well, you all know it. I was thinking of doing black and white, but then, we had big news yesterday with the attack in Colorado. And we are going to talk a lot about the attack in Colorado yesterday because of, obviously, the usual suspects online on both sides. If you can say that, I think it's time we just start grouping all the woke with woke, right? I think I'm getting to the point where woke left, woke right. People don't like the term woke right. Woke right people can't be woke. Not true. Just look at Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens. Right people can absolutely be woke. If you consider them right people. I don't consider them on the right. I just consider them on the woke now. Every single thing now. Every time. Look, every time. This is the crazy. I do believe that in some instances, false flag events happen, meaning, meaning somebody will commit an atrocity and blame it on their enemy so that they can push a narrative that their enemy is atrocious, right? It's kind of hard to come up with a solid example of that, but well, actually, that's not true. January 6th, one could argue there are many elements of a false flag there. There were people who went to January 6th, who did bad things, who didn't intend on doing that day. But you know how the Democrats, the FBI, the Capitol Police, they incited the riot, right? You had the pipe bomber, which, for all intents and purposes, it may wind up being an inside job. January 6th, import grease monkeys got it on the screen. January 6th is a perfect example. January 6th was a protest got out of control. I was there. I saw bad things happen. I know there are people in the chat who were there. They probably saw bad things happen. It wasn't all Antifa. It wasn't all Black Lives Matter. It wasn't all members of the left. But there were many people on the left or who were there who were hoping for something bad to happen, not on our side, so that they can turn it around and say, look, MAGA is violent. You get it? This is the crazy part. Every single time, whether it's, and by the way, these attacks on U.S. soil, October 7th was not on U.S. soil. So every time we hear about, if we're sympathetic towards Israel for October 7th, or we support Israel's right to defend itself because of October 7th, we hear, well, it's not our country. It's not our country. Doesn't matter. You're putting Israel first. I'm not suggesting that we bring American troops to Israel to fight their battles. I'm saying they have the right to defend themselves because they do. Right? So October 7th, no, that was not on American soil. Fine. A point stipulated. I've never argued that it was. And I've never once, not ever argued that I want American boots on the ground in Israel. However, the ISIS attack in New Orleans on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, that was on U.S. soil. Radical Islamic terror. Yes, New Orleans is U.S. soil? I think so. Okay? The attack on Governor Josh Shapiro, whether you like him or not, a Free Palestine lunatic lit his house on fire. I don't like Josh Shapiro. I don't want to see his house lit on fire. That happened in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is U.S. soil. 2 Israeli diplomats were murdered in the streets of Washington, D.C. in the name of Free Palestine. Again, yes, Israeli diplomat. I get it. I understand that. But it happened here in Washington, D.C. D.C. is U.S. soil. And now a crazy Free Palestine lunatic lit people on fire in Boulder, Colorado yesterday. Folks who were just peacefully demonstrating, yes, in support of Israel, okay? But they're allowed to peacefully demonstrate in support of Israel. By the way, just like anybody is allowed to peacefully demonstrate in support of what you consider to be Palestine. If you want to stand on a street corner and say that you believe that there should be a Palestinian state in the Middle East given to the Palestinian people, I may not agree with you. I don't think they deserve a state, a country. But if it's peaceful, you're allowed to do it. The problem is every time these people gather, every time these people are out among society, they don't coexist with other people. I may see a pro-Palestinian protest pop up somewhere here in Tennessee. My instinct is not to go grab a bottle of vodka and light people on fire. This guy yesterday said, Zionists? Well, we have to end them. His words, okay? That one in Colorado, U.S. soil. So this is not about Israel. This is not about putting another country first. This is about it's happening here in the United States. So to the Candace Owens, to the Nick Fuentes, to the Jake Shields, to the Myron Gaines, and all these people on the quote-unquote right. And the reason why I'm so hard on them is because they're making me look bad. They're making us look bad with their delusions online, right? For those of you who claim that you are putting quote-unquote America first, how come you are not outraged about attacks that are happening in America to America? And instead running cover for the people who are carrying out those attacks, like the America First post. You may see these posts all over the place on social media. AF posts, right? They called the guy who attacked these people in Colorado, they just referred to him as a man. A man? This man was an illegal alien from Egypt, and he was a terrorist. It's no better than the New York Times. It's not about another country. It's not about my support for Israel or the Jews to have the right to their homeland. It's not about that. For me, right now, it is about the United States of America. And we said it. Why do you support Israel? Sean, why do you support Israel getting rid of Hamas? Why do you support? I don't like war. I don't want the war. But I support Israel's efforts right now because they were the ones who got attacked on October 7th. I support Israel's efforts right now to eliminate Hamas and that ideology. Why? Because that ideology has now infected our country. Get it? This is not hard. This is not difficult. At least it shouldn't be. But that doesn't stop. That doesn't stop. Some of these people on social media, some of these people who I used to really respect and enjoy talking to. Have you noticed this? Have you noticed this? Every single time there's a Free Palestine lunatic that loses his or her mind in this country and kills people or tries to kill people, all of those people, they say it's a false flag. Oh, of course. So when the Jews get attacked, it's the Jews? What are you smoking? And where do I get some? I got a question for that. When is it not the Jews? Since everything is the Jews, right? I'm just curious. If you get sick, a head cold, did the Jews release that in your house? I'm just asking. How about, you sitting in heavy traffic? Is it because, a Jew told the rest of the cars, all of these people who are slowing down and making, bringing you an inconvenience, are they all paid by AIPAC? I'm just curious. I'm really just curious. When does it stop? When does it stop? By the way, has anybody heard from, I haven't used this nickname in a while. Remember Piggy Smalls? The notorious P.I.G., Rashida Tlaib? Hey, you can cry, and we can all cry. Remember her? Has anybody heard from Piggy Smalls this morning or yesterday condemning the attack in the name of Free Palestine, an ideology that she not just espouses, but encourages people to take up arms for? Has anybody heard from Ilhan? Some people did something. Omar, right? Anybody heard from her? How about AOC? Has any member of the House Terror Caucus, otherwise known as the Squad, condemned what happened in Colorado yesterday? Any of them? Has a single one of them done it? My question, and it's to the live chat because I'm curious to see your honest answers, and it is to anybody watching the show on any platform that you're seeing it stream on, X, Rumble, wherever. What is it going to take for people to realize that the quote-unquote Free Palestine movement is a terrorist movement? What is it going to take? What is it going to take for everybody, whether you support Israel, whether you don't, whether you're a Zionist, whether you're not, whatever you may call yourself, however you may identify, what is it going to take for people in this country to realize that the Free Palestine lunatics who are lighting people's homes on fire, who are shooting diplomats in the streets and murdering them, who are lighting people on fire, what is it going to take for everybody universally to realize that those people are not our friends? They're not our friends. What is it going to take? And I will let the live chat chime in and answer that question. Because it just blows my mind to see so many people running cover for them. You know, and like I said, it's people on both sides of the ideological and political aisle here. It's not unique to just the left or just the right. There are people all over the place who, well, they have a point. What point? What point do they have, and what point are they making? What point? I seem to have lost the point. What point? They're not our friends. I would love to see Greta Thunberg, as much as I can't stand her, right? Greta Thunberg, how dare you? Remember Greta? She's going to Gaza. Listen, again, I don't wish death on my political enemies. Not a great place for women to go. Greta is going to try and go to Gaza. Greta Thunberg has bigger balls than Candace Owens, than Nick Fuentes, than Myron Gaines, than Jake Shields, and all those stupid pro-Palestine people on the quote-unquote right. How come they don't go to Gaza? How come they don't go hang out with Hamas? They're supposed to be, there's a genocide of Palestine. How come they're not going over there? How come? What happened? Greta Thunberg has more courage than you? I dare you. I dare you, Candace Owens, to go to Gaza. I dare you, Myron Gaines, to go to Gaza. And you tell me how long your head stays attached to your neck. I dare you. No, you won't go. You know why you won't go? Because those people are savages, and you know it. All right. We're going to get to this attack. We also have, I got updates. I got updates on American born girl. I thought it said American brown girl. American born girl says, I fear for some it will take a personal tragedy for eyes to be open. And you know what? I think you're right. Jen is saying the same thing. JL Jazz saying the same thing. I hope it doesn't take that much. I hope it doesn't take that much. I'm done. I don't want to keep seeing tragedy. I hope it doesn't take that much. I got updates, by the way, second half of the show. Folks, huge updates from the FBI. What is it called when we see the left? This is not, we haven't referred to this theory in a while. I'm sure some of our OGs will know it. When we see the left melting down over things that folks on our side are doing, what do we call that? What philosophy, what theory do we call that? I'll let the chat chime in. When the left starts freaking out about things that we're doing, what song do we sing? What theory do we call that? What theory do we call that? I'm waiting to see if the chat... there it is. Freedom must be doing something right. Yes. Cue the Billy Currington. It is the Billy Currington theory. I've got updates from the FBI. Would you say the New York Times is our friend? I would say no. Must be... Ramel's got it. Must be doing something right. That's right. That's right. That's right. The New York Times is freaking out over personnel changes being made at the FBI. You know, I was told that the FBI, nothing was happening, that it's the same corruption over and over and over again. Well, turns out the New York Times doesn't see it that way. And if they're upset, then I know that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, as the director and deputy director of the FBI, must be doing something right. We got that and also some disturbing new information about how the FBI has been actively, looks like, hiding evidence. You're not going to believe this stuff. We'll get to all that and more. Before we do that, I want to get to a word from our friends over at OFP Farms. It's OFPFarms.com, OFPFarms.com, OFPFarms.com. Ladies and gentlemen, Father's Day right around the corner. Saddle up for Father's Day at OFP Farms. They've got big news right off the farm press. OFP Farms is dishing out a barn load of gift sets to make your dad, your papa, your hubby, your son, your best uncle, or that special father figure in your life feel like a king this Father's Day. Choose from the fabulous lineup: beard and bath sets, soap boxes, wellness bundles, and a whole lot more. Round up your orders today, folks. Time is ticking away to get these goodies shipped out to your pa. And while, listen, we all loved the Pony Express, right? We got to trust the good old USPS to deliver the goods. But guess what? You can lasso a 20% discount on your entire order at OFP Farms. Go to OFPFarms.com. Use the promo code Sean. It's SHAWN. Everybody blew it up for Mother's Day. Hundreds of box sets were bought from OFP Farms and shipped out to moms across America. And now we're asking you do the same thing for your dad. OFPFarms.com, promo code Sean, SHAWN, 20% off sale at OFP Farms. Beautiful Father's Day sale, amazing Father's Day box. OFPFarms.com, promo code SHAWN for 20% off. It's OFPFarms.com, promo code Sean, OFPFarms.com, promo code SHAWN for 20% off. What say you? Did I say? Me. Okay. I need to take a sip of tea. I called him Doc, right? Dr. Seuss. All right, here we go. Obviously, an attack in Colorado yesterday. Nobody wants to see this happen. I certainly don't. I don't know anybody. Well, I mean, I don't know anybody personally. We know of people who think this is a great thing, but I don't ever want to see things like this happen. I wish there was no people that are this crazy in this country. Multiple people injured, and as far as we know, no fatalities, which is great. But the suspect has been charged with attempted murder, which is appropriate. Multiple people were injured after an attack at Pearl Street Mall in Boulder, Colorado, according to several reports. In a post on X, the Boulder Police Department revealed that it was responding to a report of an attack that took place at 13th and Pearl Streets and asked people to avoid the area. Quote, "We are responding to a report of an attack at 13th and Pearl Streets with reports of several victims. Please avoid the area." And they also mentioned that they didn't have a motive yesterday. They didn't have a motive. So the guy chants "Free Palestine." The guy lights elderly Jews on fire. He's talking about ending Zionism. And yet, no motive. Okay. How come whenever the perpetrator appears to be of the radical left, we never can determine, local authorities anyway, a motive? Hey, I give credit to the FBI. Right off the bat, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino labeled it a terror attack because that is what it was. Here's the guy yelling. You tell me. Here's this guy yelling, "We have to end Zionism. Palestine must be free." And you tell me there's no motive here. And you tell me this guy is, this guy's not a terrorist. Here you go.
We're here, brother. We're here. We can't do nothing about that. We can't do nothing.
We can.
Not here.
You have to end Zionism.
Not here, bro.
You're not.
We
are taking video right now. He was wearing an orange suit with like something on his back.
Spraying alcohol,
Spraying
too.
alcohol, but what he did was he made it look like he was here.
He's making Molotov cocktails.
And for us,
Well, we can't do it when he's got Molotov cocktails on.
if you are fighting, you have to
That's what he's got right here. Is Molotov cocktails right there.
thousands.
Alcohol.
They are killers.
Get back, Mom.
Well, that guy was arrested. You hear him screaming, "End Zionists." You hear him screaming, "Palestine will be free." That brings up, remember this clip from Nicole Wallace? I don't see any violence on the left.
Permission structure for violence. You've got polls about political violence. Democrats don't think it's a good idea. Only Republicans. Only people inclined to consume conservative media are now, I think, upward of 50% say that if necessary, violence is okay. You've only got the conduct on one of the two sides.
Hey, Nicole, who spells her name with two L's, which is ridiculous. Do you think that this guy... You think that this guy consumes conservative media?
We're here, brother. We're here. We can't do nothing about that. We can't do nothing.
We can.
Not here.
You have to end Zionists.
End Zionists. Okay. So, I mean, it sounds like this guy, and it doesn't just sound like it because he actually lit people on fire yesterday. Looks like this guy is, I don't know, kind of calling for genocide. I don't know. He wants to end Zionists, right? Wow. You know, I was told it's none of our business. What happens in Israel is their business. It's not our business. Why are you so concerned with Israel? Who's paying you from Israel? That's what I was asked. I was told that, you know, if I really am America first, I wouldn't care. Oh, interesting. Because here's why I do care. If this was limited to just Israel, I would still support their right to defend themselves. I don't support terrorists. I don't believe that terrorists deserve to be rewarded with their own country. But if this was limited to just Israel, and this was, you know, like let's say Russia and Ukraine, right? Russia is attacking Ukraine. You know, they started the war back in February of 2022 or March of 2022, whenever it was, end of February, early March. Russia attacked Ukraine. Ukraine's counter-striking Russia. Russia's striking Ukraine again, and they're battling each other. That literally has nothing to do with us. Absolutely nothing. And not once did Russia call for an effort to globalize their war against Ukraine. They're not saying, well, once we go after Ukraine, we're going after the rest of the world, including the United States, and we're going to globalize Russian imperialism, right? They've never said that. I'm not trying to defend Putin. I'm just telling you what they have or haven't said. The Russians have not once, not ever, called to globalize, and I use that word intentionally, their imperialism, if you want to call it that, their expansion into Ukraine. However, Hamas, the Free Palestine people, the Al-Aqsa flood people, the folks who pushed and planned and carried out the October 7th attacks have called for a, and I quote, global intifada. Now, so long as my country exists on this globe that we call planet Earth, it's now my business. You got it? When I hear them say, first we'll go after the Saturday people, and then we'll go after the Sunday people. When I hear them say, death to America, it's my business now. And it is in the best interest of the United States of America to support those who are fighting against them. Not with boots on the ground, but hey, if Israel wants to buy some weapons, I'll sell it to them. Every time. So that every green headband in that region is absolutely wiped out, eradicated, and exterminated like the pests, like the animals, like the roaches that they are. Why do I care? What impact does it have in America? What's just happening? They're calling for a global intifada. Globalize, meaning they're not just stopping with Israel. You know this. That's why I'm concerned. Because they're not just chanting death to Jews or death to Israel, which is bad in and of itself. But they're chanting death to America. And last time I checked, I'm an American, and so are you. And I don't think you want the death to America people coming to America and causing death, because you don't know if you're going to be a part of their next attack or not. Get it? Not a hard concept. Not a hard concept. Come on, you guys are smart. Come on. This is what we were warning about, by the way. This is what we were warning about for years with this open border. You just don't know who's coming in. You don't know. You're not vetting. It is making our country unsafe. Now, apparently, this guy came to the country legally, asterisk, okay? The Molotov cocktail flamethrower attack in Boulder, Colorado left at least 6 victims aged 67 to 88. Think about it. These are older people. In the hospital, moderate to more severe injuries. The assailant threw the makeshift bombs at the American Jewish group Run for Their Lives, who were marching in support of, wait for it, the terrible cause, supporting the remaining hostages being held by Hamas. That's all they were doing. You know, they want Hamas to give up the hostages, both dead and alive. So there's no, you know, that's not a bad thing to be rallying for. I don't see what's so offensive about that. According to multiple reports, the Boulder terrorist has now been identified. Mohammed Soliman. Gee, I didn't see that name coming. According to Bill Malugin, 3 senior Department of Homeland Security sources have told Fox News the Boulder terrorist is an Egyptian national in the United States illegally. He didn't come here illegally. It's important to make that distinction. He overstayed a visa, entered the United States during the Biden administration. Mohammed Sabri Soliman arrived in Los Angeles at LAX airport on August 27th, 2022, on a B1 or B2 non-immigrant visa with an authorized stay through February 26th, 2023, but he overstayed and never left. The Biden regime allowed him to stay here and authorized him for a quote-unquote work. Biden administration gave him quote-unquote work authorization, which expired on March 28th, 2025. Now, for all the people on the left who are like, well, why didn't the Trump administration deport him? Because overstaying your visa is not a criminal act off the bat. It is a civil violation. You understand? It's a civil violation. And if the Trump administration because the guy, like, I want to be very, very clear. And I'm not trying to defend him or be quote unquote fair to him. I'm trying to be fair to the truth. If this guy entered the country illegally, you could deport, like, go away. He entered. I want everyone to be very clear, because I keep hearing he's an illegal immigrant. Yes, asterisk, okay? He did not enter this country illegally. Technically. I'm not saying the way he entered it was right. I'm not saying the Biden administration, wanted this guy here because they thought he was going to contribute to the workforce. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying letter of the law, he got a visa and he came here. So when he crossed the border coming into our country, he didn't do it illegally. You understand? I'm not trying to be fair to this guy. I'm not trying to give this guy the benefit of the doubt. I'm trying to be fair to the truth. I see a lot of people are saying he's an illegal immigrant. Well, he is, but you got to tell the whole story. You do have to tell the whole story, right? He didn't come here illegally. This is not like Trende Aragua, who ran into the country illegally and all this. He didn't come here illegally. He came here legally. He overstayed his visa. Now he is illegally present in the United States. Obviously, what he did yesterday is, on its face, illegal, right? Lighting people on fire and trying to kill people. That's illegal. Right? That's why he's been charged with attempted murder. But he's not he didn't come to the country illegally. He came here legally and exploited a system. Don't get me wrong. But he didn't come here illegally. So overstaying your visa isn't always a criminal violation. This, in this case, is most likely a civil violation. Okay? It's a very important distinction to make. That's why whenever I say anyone who came into our country illegally is a criminal, I always phrase it that way because that's the truth. Not every visa overstay is a quote-unquote criminal violation, but every illegal entry into our country is a criminal violation. That's why I phrase it that way. It's important that the language that we use is accurate, right? That's not to say he's not illegally present in the United States. He's illegally present here. Do I believe he should leave? Yes. He just committed a crime. If he's not deported, he should be shot. Firing squad, bring it back. But it is important to make that distinction, not in fairness to him, but in fairness to the truth, okay? Pay attention to the folks who don't mention this. Either A, because they don't know the difference, or B, because they're trying to sensationalize this guy. He didn't come here illegally. He came here legally. He's now in the country illegally, okay? Still horrible. Does not change what he did. Does not change what he did. But this is not necessarily a byproduct of the open border, so to speak. It is a byproduct of the Biden regime bringing people into this country and not vetting them and finding out who they are. You can't tell me there wasn't some sort of warning sign that this guy was one of these people. All right, so that's that on this story. There's not really much more. Now, yes, Jeremy said now he's a terrorist and very illegal. Absolutely. Nobody's debating that. Nobody's debating that at all. Now he deserves he deserves the harshest of harsh punishments. Lighting elderly people on fire. And no offense to anybody who's age 67 to 88. I don't mean elderly in a bad way. I'm just saying, right? Look. Lighting people on fire. Unprovoked. Yeah, you're a terrorist. You're already illegally in the country, albeit you didn't enter illegally. You're still here illegally. You just tried to kill people. Now he deserves the harshest of punishments. No ifs, ands, or buts. No ifs, ands, or buts. All right. Quick break, and then it's time for the FBI, because this is something I think you're all going to enjoy, especially those of you who have been right there alongside Speak the Truth in our chat, and Jason King, and so many others who have been defending relentlessly, vigorously, passionately Dan Bongino. This article in the New York Times. Why am I citing the New York Times? Billy Currington theory. They are freaking out. And if they're freaking out about something that somebody I would consider an ally is doing, if they're freaking out about it, I would say that it's time to highlight that and consider that what's happening at the FBI is a good thing. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to a word from our friends at the LFA TV store, LFATV.us, LFATV.us, LFATV.us. Folks, click on that LFA TV store tab. It is right here on your screen. You can go down to the Visit the Store tab right there. And Father's Day, is right around the corner. Right around the corner. Look at this. Spring cleaning sale, 20% off. Look at these surprises you get. Look at these surprises you get at the LFA TV store. So take a look. There's a lot of cool things here at the LFA TV store. LFATV.us, LFATV.us, LFATV.us. Father's Day gift ideas. Like I say, the mugs and the coffee, they go well together. Go ahead, pick up some Rise Up coffee. Pick up these epic mugs. Be a great gift on Father's Day for your dad, father figure, uncle, son, husband, whoever it may be. LFATV.us, LFATV.us, or JeremyHerald.com/store. Take advantage of the 20% off spring cleaning sale on the LFA TV website, LFATV.us, or JeremyHerald.com/store. Okay. I want to get to, we got to get to this FBI thing. All right, Billy Currington, put your country hats on. American-born girl wants to stone these terrorists. Look at this. Hold on, let me see if I can See what I got here. Put that chat on the screen. America, what does it say? I think it, yeah. She said a stoning sounds like an appropriate punishment. There it is right there on your screen. Okay? Bless you. All right. FBI. Everybody put your country hats on. Must be doing something right. The FBI, folks, after I read this article, and it is available on Citizen Free Press. Sometimes the New York Times will hide their articles behind a paywall, but Citizen Free Press helps you get around that paywall. Take a look. I'm going to put this in the chat. Brennan, don't zap me. The link I just put in the chat will get you to this New York Times article. This New York Times article highlights some huge issues that are going on at the FBI. Okay, let me ask a rhetorical question to the chat. And I know that that a polygraph is not perfect, and I know that a polygraph can be beaten. But a polygraph is a pretty reliable, scientific, data-driven way to determine whether somebody is lying or not. Would you polygraph people who you know you can trust? Would you polygraph people who you know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that you can trust? Unless the circumstances are just out of this world, I could say, I wouldn't. I'm not going to polygraph Brennan. I trust Brennan. I'm not going to polygraph Bad Moon. I trust Bad Moon, right? I'm not going to polygraph I trust Speak and Jason. I'm not going to polygraph these guys if that's our team leading an investigation. However, if I walk into a new position and I have no idea who I can trust in a new leadership role, I am not above polygraphing those people. Right now, the FBI, Kash Patel, is using the polygraph on an inordinate number of FBI officials, employees, agents, folks throughout the Bureau, because they don't know who they can trust. I want to stress this right now. They've been in the role for almost 3 months, 2.5 months, right? And they still don't know who can be trusted in the FBI. It's evident, or else they wouldn't be polygraphing people, right? They're not polygraphing people for fun. They're polygraphing people to find out who they can trust. It is a huge problem right now, and it's clear. It is clear that it's been a problem. Why have things taken so long? Because if they start delegating important tasks, let's say you want the Epstein files, or you want an arrest, or you want, James Comey, hold on. If you delegate that task to somebody who you can't trust, they're lying to your face. Yeah, I'm on your side. And then they get these cases who are going to prosecute, they're going to hold these left-wing, these corruptocrats, these corrupt politicians accountable, and they're secretly, not on your side. They're gonna tread water. They're gonna drag their feet. They're gonna hang everything up in procedural. They're gonna purposefully make mistakes, right? So they've got to find the people they can trust first before they move forward with a lot of those high-profile cases that we all want to see. And it is clear. This article is from yesterday, folks. It is clear they still don't know who can be trusted at the FBI. But even more important than just that nugget and what we can derive from this polygraph situation, the way the FBI and Adam Goldman, writing for the New York Times, who is one of the chief Russiagate hoaxers over at the New York Times, the way he's talking about this, the whining, the meltdown, shows you that what is going on at the FBI, that, by the way, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, they can't post on social media, we polygraphed this guy today, we fired this one today, they can't advertise it, because then what? Then it looks political. It no longer looks operational. And it's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. When I see Bongino and Patel tweeting about things they're doing, they're like, stop tweeting, more arrests. But then when we don't hear things, where's the transparency? What the do you want them to do? Can they win? Damned if you do, damned if you don't. If they tweet about something, stop tweeting, I want arrests. If they don't tweet about it and they don't tell you about it, there's no transparency. What do you want them to do? ESP? You want them to text you? Here we go. Okay? This is this article on the New York Times. Before being confirmed as the director of the FBI, Kash Patel made it clear his intent to remake it in his own image, reflecting a larger desire by the White House to bend the agency to its will. Ooh, scary. Scary. They quote Patel's book, "The FBI has become so thoroughly compromised that it will remain a threat to the people unless drastic measures are taken," he wrote in his book, Government Gangsters, asserting that the top ranks of the Bureau should be eliminated. Behind the scenes, his vision of an FBI under President Trump is quietly taking shape. Ooh, scary. But I was told nothing's happening. Nobody's being fired. Well, the New York Times seems to feel a little differently about that. Agents have been forced out. Others have been demoted or put on leave with no explanation. And in an effort to hunt down the sources of news leaks, Mr. Patel is forcing employees to take polygraph tests. Scary. Scary. Taken together, the moves are causing worrisome upheaval at the FBI, eliciting fear and uncertainty as Mr. Patel and his deputy, Dan Bongino, scary, quickly restock senior ranks with agents and turn the agency's attention to immigration. Their persistent claims that the Bureau was politicized under previous directors, in addition to their swift actions against colleagues, have left employees to wonder whether they too will be ousted. If you can't be trusted, you will, by the way. Either because they worked on an investigation vilified by Trump supporters or had ties to the previous administrations. The actions have obliterated decades of experience in national security. You mean the experience that led to the Russia probe? What good did that experience do there? The actions have obliterated decades of experience in national security and criminal matters at the FBI and raised questions about whether the agents taking over such critical posts have the institutional knowledge to pursue cornerstones of its work. Bongino said, "The director and I will have most of our incoming reform teams in place by next week. The hiring process can take a little bit of time, but we are approaching that finish line. This will help us both in doubling down on our reform agenda." This meltdown with the New York, I encourage everybody to read it. I'll post the link in the chat again. You guys can post it into your browsers or save it into your phones. I want you all to read this article because, again, this is not me waving pom-poms. This is the New York Times clutching pearls. And when the New York Times clutches pearls over things that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are doing, it means they're doing the right things. You understand? It's not me coming out there and saying, guys, trust the process, give them time. I've made that argument before, and I stand by that argument, and I stand by Kash Patel, and I stand by Dan Bongino because it's only been 2.5 months, and this has been decades of institutional rot that has taken place at the FBI. This is the New York Times clutching pearls over a polygraph test and over personnel decisions that, no, they're not advertising because they shouldn't advertise it. Because when they talk about things, we hear less tweeting, more arrests. But now it's, well, why didn't we know about it? So they can't win. This is not me waving the pom-poms for Kash Patel. This is not me waving the pom-poms for Dan Bongino, although I support them, and I will support them throughout their roles in the FBI. This is the New York Times, folks. The New York Times clutching pearls. This unease. There's unease. Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are firing people. Clutch. I need more pearls to clutch. This article continues, and the meltdowns get even sweeter. Former and current FBI officials warned that the attempts by Trump loyalists to mold the Bureau to their worldview could ultimately have a chilling effect on agents seeking to open cases that could upset Mr. Trump or his base. Mr. Patel and Mr. Bongino have sent a clear message on previous FBI investigations that focus on Mr. Trump or his allies. In essence, former officials said nobody is above the law except Mr. Trump. Excuse me. Did they just call on the rooster? Okay, I just wanted to throw that rooster up. They said nobody is above the law, so we had to put that up there. Here's some of the things that the New York Times is taking issue with that are happening at the FBI, even though silly people, stupid people, on social media are telling you nothing's happening at the FBI. If nothing was happening at the FBI, the New York Times would write a piece praising what Kash Patel and Dan Bongino were doing, not freaking out and melting down about it. Look, in recent weeks, the FBI disbanded the Washington field office's elite federal public corruption squad, which was best known for investigating Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Give me a break. What's the point of having that in there? No point. When new leaders take office, they inevitably want to put their own stamp on an agency, but some departures amount to a significant loss in expertise. They're firing the experts. The same experts who told you that Trump and Russia were colluding in the 2016 election. Not experts. Swamp rats. Unbelievable. Here, there's even more. A senior agent. Again, here's the New York Times. They talk to these agents. They're so sad. They're getting fired. They're getting removed. What they do wrong. Oh, my gosh. Clutch the pearls. Bongino and Patel. They're firing people. Again, you're not going to hear this from the stupid people on social media who want to tell you that nothing's happening. Stuff's happening. They're just not looking for it. It's in the New York Times. The New York Times is freaking out. If the New York Times is freaking out over things that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are doing, I'm happy with the things that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are doing. A senior agent who was until April in charge of intelligence at the Los Angeles field office was asked to relocate to the FBI's campus in Huntsville, Alabama, where former officials said she would take on fewer responsibilities. Similar scenarios have played out in San Diego, St. Louis, Jacksonville, Florida, and Birmingham and Mobile, Alabama, as well as the Washington field office. In at least some cases, people were told to go because they held their positions at the director's discretion. Another wave of agents have been promoted to fill major jobs at headquarters and run field offices around the country, including St. Louis, Newark, Phoenix, Indianapolis, and San Diego. Former officials praised some of the choices while they viewed others as less inspiring. Other agents and at least one top analyst have retired rather than risk being targeted by FBI leadership for causes embraced by conservative critics of the Bureau. Testifying before senators about his agency's budget requests in recent weeks, Patel said that retirements were routine but did not affect the FBI. And finally, the FBI's increasingly pervasive use of the polygraph or a lie detector has only intensified a culture of intimidation. Patel has wielded the polygraph to keep agents or other employees from discussing a number of topics, including his decision-making or internal moves. Former agents say he's doing this in ways not typically seen in the FBI. Even though it's not admissible in court, a polygraph can be a powerful tool in supporting a criminal investigation or serious allegations of misconduct. At a recent meeting, senior executives were told that the news leaks were increasing in priority. Even though they do not involve open cases or the disclosure of classified information, former officials say senior executives, among others, were being polygraphed at a rapid rate. What does that tell you? It means they can't trust these people. A lot of these people can't be trusted. That's why they're being polygraphed. You don't polygraph people who you can trust. I read for you like my favorite portions of this article. I encourage everybody to read this article. The New York Times, a full-blown meltdown over the personnel changes that are being made at the FBI. They're firing experts. They're replacing them with people with less experience. They're polygraphing the FBI at a rapid rate. Yeah, Joe Spag got it. They have to weed out the corrupt agents before they can get started on arrests. Even worse than that, and I'll get to that in just a second, even worse than that is this information that came out of a thread from the great Margot Cleveland, but I want to I want to talk about TriArmor first. I want to get to a word from our friends at triarmor.com/LFA TV. It's Armor Colostrum. Ladies and gentlemen, you know I'm always on the lookout for ways to strengthen my immunity and my gut health, improve my fitness and metabolism, enhance my skin and hair radiance. Folks, that is what Armor Colostrum can do for you. And it can do that for you and a whole lot more. Colostrum is the first nutrition we receive in life, contains all the essential nutrients our bodies need in order to thrive. And I encourage you guys to start taking this stuff and to start trying this stuff. It'll help you reactivate your hair growth and help your skin glow. You can stimulate stem cells and collagen production, increase elasticity for plumper skin, guard against UV damage, chemicals, and pollutants from the environment, and help clear blemishes for a glowy complexion. It can also fortify your gut health and ignite your metabolism, and it can help fuel your fitness, performance, and recovery. Check out this amazing offer at tryarmor.com. That's TRYARMRA.com/LFATV. Tryarmor.com/LFATV for 15% off of your entire order. That's TRYARMRA.com/LFATV. Tryarmor.com/LFATV for 15% off. Look, here's the question. Do you want to see these cases rushed? Do you want to see these people, these agents, these folks that are working at the FBI who obviously Kash Patel and Dan Bongino can't trust? Do you want to see those people heading up the cases of the quote-unquote arrests that you want? Do you don't think that those people would leave loopholes wide open to have those cases thrown out, dismissed, and let those people walk? This is the point of why I'm sharing this stuff from the New York Times with you. The point is, obviously, because they're polygraphing these people at a rate that has never been seen before at the FBI, obviously it means there are massive trust issues with those people at the FBI that Bongino and Patel have encountered thus far. And I'm sorry, but if I don't trust somebody to drive my car, I'm not just going to throw them the keys and say, have fun. That is what everybody who is asking for these cases and these arrests to happen in rapid fire 2.5 months after they came into the new roles of director and deputy director. You can't just, throw the keys to the car at these people and say, all right, do your best, when all they really want to do is crash your car and ruin your life and ruin your legacy and ruin our country. And the New York Times article shows you that. The pearl clutching that went on for the duration of that article is epic and proves to me that the things that they're doing, since the New York Times is upset about it, and other former experts and agents are upset about it, means they're doing the right things. Now, I want to show you something else that they're up against. It's not like one of these things where you just walk into a bank, you're the head of the bank, you got the keys to the vault, you're in. A lot of the evidence that has apparently, that exists, has been hidden. Maybe purposefully. There are Brady rules, it's Brady procedures, requires government to disclose exculpatory evidence in criminal cases. In other words, if someone's being prosecuted for bank robbery, but the FBI is in possession of evidence that says that the person who they're suspecting of robbing a bank was nowhere near the bank at the time the bank was robbed, they have to provide that evidence and disclose that evidence in criminal cases. Well, in some cases, the evidence that would be exculpatory cannot be found because it is classified by the FBI and in their system as prohibited access. Here is how the DOJ's Inspector General describes prohibited access. Documents and data uploaded into Sentinel are assigned one of three access levels: unrestricted, restricted, or prohibited. The extent to which information appears in search results depends on the data's access level and the searcher's permission. Prohibited data is visible only to users with permission to view the underlying case. All other users receive no search results and would not know that information is relevant to their search, and not know that that information exists if the case has been marked prohibited. The FBI programmed Sentinel, their database, to automatically set all misconduct cases at the prohibited access level. Interesting. So any FBI misconduct cases or any cases of misconduct that they're investigating, political, whatever, the information is not available to anybody who doesn't have access to that case file. What does this mean? This means that there's still a ton of evidence that is buried under that prohibited access label in the FBI database that they haven't even gotten to yet. This is why when you've heard them, I think it was Bongino said this, that there was a quote unquote like a hidden room. This is what he's talking about. Well, it may not be a physical location. You walk in and there's just stacks of documents. This is the virtual equivalent of that. And I don't think it happened by accident that these misconduct cases were all by default marked prohibited access. Steph 793, I'm skeptical of comfort because of a New York Times article. And I want to address that real quick. I'm comfortable because the New York Times is telling me that it's bad. When has the New York Times ever been right? If the New York Times is saying Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are doing an unexpectedly good job, I'd be like, what's wrong with the FBI? I can only bring evidence to the show. We gave you statements, and I'm not talking just to Steph 7. I'm trying to address that sentiment, not the person, right? But the feeling. We've shown you video of Dan Bongino saying, I'm telling you it's in the case file. We've showed you the New York Times freaking out about personnel decisions. I'm not even asking you to be comfortable. All I'm saying is there are things that are happening. There are people that are being fired. There are personnel moves that are being made. There are changes, good changes, that are happening at the FBI that may not be advertised in some press release, and your favorite influencer on social media may not have it as a breaking story. But there are things that are happening. And the New York Times found out about some of the things that are happening, and they're pissed because it probably means they're going to lose access, and it means that the folks that are doing their dirty work at the FBI are being weeded out. They're not all gone yet. That's why Kash Patel is polygraphing everybody under the sun there. They haven't figured out who they can trust yet completely and fully. It's only been 2.5 months. And again, I'm not throwing the keys to my car to somebody I've never met who I've heard things about and I know I can't trust, when I know that all they want to do is wreck my car. I know we don't like saying it. These things take time. But that's a look at what's going on the inside. You judge the effectiveness of what you're doing by the reactions of your political opponents. The New York Times are our political opponents. The New York Times are freaking out about it. They're pissed. That means Bongino and Patel, sing it, must be doing something right. All right, Jeremy Harrell coming up next with Live from America for the next 2 hours. We're back tomorrow with more here. Same time, same place, rumble.com/LFA TV. I want to thank everybody for watching and listening. Please hit that thumbs up button before you leave today and before you join. Not leaving. We're not leaving anywhere. You're sticking right on the stream before the show is over. As President Trump would say, we will never give up. We will never give in. We will never, ever surrender. And if all else fails, we'll just become ungovernable. Thank you. God bless you. God bless this one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Bang gavel. Good night, everybody. We'll catch you in the AM.